So we're going to go ahead and start right away with today's opener. I told you guys we're going to jump right into it because I want to get through the rest of the notes today as well. So the first two questions on our opener is just simplifying square roots, but the only difference is this time we also have variables thrown in there. So we're simplifying square roots with variables. This is the last lesson that we're going to learn this triad. Yes, I told him. I told him yesterday, so he should be good. Okay, so when we're simplifying square roots, the first step, according to our notes, we're going to go ahead and do everything as normal. So we're going to go ahead and factor our radicand. So we're only going to worry about the number part right now. So when I go to factor my radicand, I think to myself, what two numbers can I multiply together to get 45? 5 and 9. And 3 and 3. Good. Now I'm going to drop down and write below because I don't have enough room to write to the right. So when I go to, yeah, you guys probably don't either. So when you guys go to drop down, the first thing we're going to do is put our equal sign. Then right after that equal sign, what do I need to write? The 2. Do not forget, that was close. Don't forget this coefficient. Don't forget that 2. So we're going to bring our coefficient, then our square root sign. Now, what goes under the square root sign? 3 times 3 times 5. Now, the new part. What also goes under my square root sign?
F3 and your G4.
So F to the third power, G to the fourth power.
Oh.
Okay?
That's all I need. Well, I want to keep y'all.
Now,
Don't you circle your...
we're going to go ahead and circle our pairs when we're dealing with our numbers. So we're going to circle our factor pairs and shows that 3, that second pair, cancels with the square root sign. The number that I circled now becomes our, what happens with that number that I circle here? It becomes, no, not a, where does that number go? Outside, which is the, so what's it joining on the outside there? The 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. So we're kind of jumping back and forth between old stuff and new stuff. So once I've got my 6 coefficient, I now need to look at my variables. So before I do that, though, that 5 is stuck on the inside. I'm going to underline that, so I just remember that 5 stays as my radicand. So then I'm going to go look at my variables. The f has an exponent of 3. Is 3 an odd or even number?
Odd.
Odd. Because it's an odd number, according to our notes, we're going to take 1 away from it, and that 1f is going to be stuck in the radicand. So we're going to take 1 away from the 3, which means that 1f is going to be stuck as a radicand. And if you take 1 from 3, what do you get? 2. So then we have an even number. What's half of 2?
2.
What's half of 2? When I say what's half of 2, that means what's 2 divided by 2?
1.
1. So we're going to have 1f on the outside. Okay? So we're done with this exponent. This is going to be very confusing and very hard until we get used to it. That's okay. I expect you guys to be a little confused. Biggest thing you need to remember, don't let yourself get upset and frustrated because that's not going to help you learn it at all. So now you come to this next variable. Okay? You look at your exponent. Is your exponent odd or even?
Even.
Even. So because it's even, it's going to completely cancel with the square root sign. Okay? Hold on. Now, what is half of 4? 2. So it's going to be G to the second on the outside as the coefficient. So our coefficient is now done. If you look at it, we worked our way from left to right. We identified everything that needs to be moved to the coefficient. So now we're going to put our square root sign. Hold on. Don't get ahead of me, please. I'm glad you know it. Just think it. Don't say it out loud. That way other people can stop and think too. So now we're going to look what's stuck on my inside. So I'm going to look at what I underlined or what hasn't been canceled out. So my first number that's going to be part of my radicand is what? 5. Then I'm going to look at my variables. Is there a variable that had an odd exponent? What was it? What variable was that? So you're just going to bring down that single f. And that's it.
So if it's an odd one, then you have to do that.
When it's an odd one, you will always have just that one variable left. So like, let's say it was f to the 31st power. I'm still going to have just one f left in the radicand.
Okay.
Every single time. You will only have one variable stuck in the radicand if it was an odd.
If it's odd.
If it's odd, every single time.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Moving right along. So now we have the square root of 81h to the 8th. There are two different ways that you can solve this particular problem. Okay? The square root of 81, what are the two numbers I can multiply together to get 81? 9 and 9. So looking at that, well, we'll go ahead and just factor it out.
That's the easy part, right? 3 and 3.
And the same thing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think I have room. So I'm going to go to the right of
You
it.
got enough room.
Do I have a coefficient? Nah, not this time. So I'm going to put 3 times h to the 8th. Good. Make my line longer. Okay, so we're all pros at this part. We just got to remember that variable. Okay. Now, from here, I do what? Circle my pairs. My pairs cancel with the square root sign. They move to the outside to the coefficient. So what's my new coefficient going to be? 3 times 3, because I have 2 3's going out, which is 9. So I have 9. Now, the new part, I need to look at my variable. It's h to the 8th. 8 is a what type of number? Even. So I know because it's even, that variable is going to totally cancel with my square root sign. So then I have to think, what's half of 8?
4.
So h to the 4th.
Oh, I got that one.
Now, do I have anything left on the inside of my square root sign? No. So 9h to the 4th is my final answer.
I got that one right.
Good. Isn't it kind of neat when it clicks? Now, for those that it has not clicked yet, it will. At least I hope it will by Thursday.
That's a test.
Because, yeah, you know it. That's our quiz. Okay. Flip it over. Now, y'all have 2 seconds to be like, oh my God, what is this? And then we're moving on.
Boy, what in the world is this?
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is fun.
No, it's not.
Yes. So,
How was that fun?
here, because you know how to do all this now, you have multiplying square roots with variables. So we're combining 2 lessons into one problem. So the first thing that we're going to focus on is multiplying our square roots, multiplying our numbers. So when we multiply our square roots, the first step we always do is multiply our coefficients. Well, do I have any coefficients here? No, so I can't multiply my coefficients. So I move down to step 2. What's my step 2 going to be?
Multiply the number the inside, right?
Well, before I can multiply the inside, though, what do I have to do to my numbers on the radicals? Factor them. So what can I multiply together to get 8? Okay. And then 4 we know is 2 and 2.
And then for nine,
Jaden, you guys need to be writing this down.
and for 9 you can do 9.
9 and 10. Alex, can you get your head up for me, please?
3 and 4 is 4.
Man, I need to find
Okay. Once we go ahead and factor our radicans, because I'm multiplying, how many square root signs do I need? 1. When you multiply, it goes under all 1 square root sign. Yeah, right? And then I'm going to put the factors that I circled in order from least to greatest. So how many 2's am I going to have there? 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 3's and a 5. That's right. Now, this is a little bit more of our new stuff. So now I need to compare my variables. I have... Carlos and Nimmons did teach you something. There we go. So we have the variable p and the other variable p. Now, when you have exponents and you're multiplying the exponents together, you should have learned last year with Carlos and Nimmons that when you multiply variables with exponents or anything with exponents, you actually add the exponents together. So they have to have the same base for a variable. The same base means it's the same variable. So if I have p to the 21st times p to the 2nd, I'm really going to take and add the exponents together. So what's 21 plus 2? Okay, so I'm going to have times p to the 23rd power times... So then I look at my next variable. Do they both have a q? Yeah. So we're going to add the exponents together, which is going to be q to the 8th. How many of you guys think if you take this home to mom and dad, they'd know what you're doing?
Mom would.
Yeah, my parents would be like, what? Okay, so as Damon said, we're going to circle our pairs. Oh, we have all kinds of pairs here. Okay, now, where do all these pairs go that I just circled?
On the outside.
On the outside. So what am I all moving to the outside here? Times a, okay. So, real fast, let's go ahead and simplify that part. What's 2 times 2 times 3?
12.
Good. So I'm going to just rewrite that as a 12. You can just grab right underneath it. It's all right.
No.
Now, we know that the 5 does not have a pair, so the 5 is stuck in there. Jaden, what kind of number is 23, odd or even? Jaden, odd or even? 23. Huh? Well, it ends in a 3, so it's going to be an odd. So what we're going to do, because we know it's an odd number, that P, we're going to have one P stuck on the inside. We're going to take 1 off of 23 and get 22. So then what's half of 22?
20.
Well, take 22 divided by 2, you get 11. So it's going to be P to the 11th. Okay. Now, we look at our next variable, Q. Q to the 8. 8, odd or even?
Even.
Even. Because it's an even number, we know it's, whoops, it's going to totally cancel with the square root sign. What's half of 8?
1.
Say it again?
And a 4.
Yes. So it's going to be Q to the 4th on the outside. So our coefficient part is finished. So now we need to focus on the radicand. What number is going to stay inside the square root sign?
5 and a P.
Okay. What variable stays on in the inside? Why does that P stay on the
Because
inside?
it's not even.
Because it was an odd one.
Yeah,
It had an odd exponent.
you know what I mean.